We're
We've
live.
done it.
Welcome, episode 20 of the Main Stand podcast with the boys. It's our first
Happy New
episode
Year.
back from the holidays.
Happy New Year.
Welcome back, boys.
Welcome back.
How
Welcome
was the
back. How's
break
everybody's
for you?
holiday?
Mitch?
From a footy perspective, not ideal, I'd say. Uh, Nice to reset. Nice to ring in the new year, though. Hung out with some friends, had a great time. We played some cards with a huge group of people over the break, so it was good. It was good.
It's good. Yeah, it was a good break. I got an air fryer
Hey,
and
I did
finished my
too.
PC. Nice,
Air
dude.
fryer
Air fryer,
gang.
dude, elite. It makes me feel like I'm way better at cooking than I actually am.
I also got a sick Modelo set that we're gonna break out on a live podcast, I think, pretty soon. So
I'm gonna have to.
Love
I'm
that.
gonna have to.
yeah. I went out to Minnesota, so little frequent flyer miles for me, but pretty relaxing, I would say. It's nice to kind of get away from soccer for a couple weeks after the World Cup, only kind of be focused on it, I guess, like when Liverpool was playing. Um, so yeah, nice to have a little reset.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely. You kind of need that too, man. Like I'm getting older. Yeah, I need those few days of just like nothing.
It has been a slower kind of restart, I think, for me. Like, especially with that Carabao Cup game kind of first to get back into things. And we've had 3 Prem games. It's been coming kind of thick and fast, but the games, like, I've been able to kind of put them away in terms of, like, emotion, like, right after the game's done and kind of just move on, at least this week. So
That Carabao
Yeah.
Cup game was
it
hilarious.
was. It was quite funny. I don't know. It's
It
just
was just funny.
Liverpool's a clusterfuck right now. We'll get into it. But first thing I think we all want to talk about, it's the thing on everyone's mind today and the past couple days is the drama with the U.S. men's national team, the soap opera that is the U.S. men's national team.
Yeah, speaking of cluster fucks.
Yeah. How do we want to
Honestly, the
break? Do we
most
want to break this down right from the beginning, or do you want to just give your
Yeah,
reaction
let's
to the
let's
news today?
let's give the people some background information for those that might be listening and are not totally akin
Yeah.
to what's going on.
So basically, Berhalter's contract, which expired at the new year, it kind of just goes without mention from U.S. soccer. So
right.
everyone's kind of sitting there on January 1st wondering if he's renewed, if he's still our manager. Nothing really comes of it until yesterday when we do get a full statement from the U.S. Soccer team saying that there's some sort of investigation. Everything's really vague. And saying that they're still going to evaluate Gregg Berhalter and the actual team's performance after this investigation basically is complete. At the same time, Gregg Berhalter makes a Twitter account, or his PR team does, and he releases his own statement, basically getting in front of blackmail about him and his wife, Rosa Lind, I believe is her name.
Yep.
An incident that happened 30 years between them, and we don't need to rehash really many of the details, just a domestic kind of violence incident 30 years ago. Seems like they've moved past it. They're happily married, and so on. And basically, the statement from Greg was saying that people were reaching out to U.S. Soccer, multiple people, not just Greg, and kind of blackmailing, releasing information about him. There wasn't really, I guess, much information on what would happen if it didn't, or what he needed to do to make sure the information didn't get released, until we find out today that Claudio Reyna and Danielle Reyna, his wife, who was teammates with Rosalind at University of North Carolina, played soccer with
Roommates.
her, roommates, were the ones behind it. So
Yeah.
I
Well,
just did my spiel. I'll let you guys react first.
so the Reynas say they did not, were not, or not did not, but were not the ones to initially feed that information to the U.S. Soccer Federation, and that Linda brought it up on a call when talking about Greg's comments on her son, and that she used the term like she was disappointed that Berhalter couldn't move past it because she moved past this incident with uh his wife, and Claudio made a statement basically saying that he never told them anything in an attempt to blackmail Berhalter, but he backed the statement that his wife made. So they're saying it wasn't them, but they brought it back up, essentially, I think is what they're trying to say. I don't know. To me, this A looks really bad from the standpoint of we just came off a pretty positive World Cup, all things considered. Performance could have been a little better, but aside from that, we played outside of or above a lot of people's expectations for this team. We were kind of moving in the right direction. Yeah, Berhalter was going to renew, but like whatever. It felt like there were positive steps taken. It was a good World Cup. There was a lot of positive press around the performance of these guys, this really talented group of guys that went to Qatar. And then to find out that all of this has unfolded, it really leaves a bitter taste in your mouth just around U.S. men's soccer as a whole. And it really, really makes it difficult for me to get behind Gio Reyna being in the team. I get he's talented, and I get he had his issues with Berhalter, but for his family and his camp to be doing things like that, it's really difficult for me to want him back in the camp. It's equally difficult for me to see him coming back to a men's national team camp. You know, his mom is like, she gives off mean soccer mom energy, making comments like that and doing things like that. And it's really difficult to stomach, but ultimately, I don't think Gio Reyna should be back in this team, just given the full context around what's happening. And it's terrible that it had to be like this, but what if the next coach doesn't like Gio, or what if he has attitude problems with the next coach? Is Mama Reyna going to dig up dirt on, this Colorado Rapids coach who's only won 6 games in his entire career, who's the head coach for our January camp, which is a whole different bag of worms. We went from Gregg to a fucking guy that couldn't win 10 games with the Colorado Rapids.
That applies to him on a club level too. Like, I think this is ultimately going to lead to a lateral move from him in terms of like moving from Dortmund to a club like maybe Lille or Lyon or something that's kind of like parallel instead of upwards. Because you have to think the managers are going to have some sort of opinion on him now, having this so young in his career, along with the plethora of injuries he's gone through.
It's difficult, man. It's difficult to see a way up for him.
Yeah, to me, it just kind of feels like personal drama bubbled up after a long time that's being aired on the public national stage. Like, they have such an intertwined, close relationship. And to have it spill over, and I think I just kind of feel like it's a personal situation. Like, growing up in a small town, you have this consistently in American sports, especially, where parents are coaches, or there's personal relationships between the coaches and the players, and like, it's generational. So when you see this close group of college friends have such a personal event happen so far back in time, and now it's affecting what's happening now with a player's future. Yes, Gio could have probably had a better attitude in the camp, and it wouldn't have even led to all this personal laundry being aired. But I think it's kind of indicative of how America treats sports and how we see it as likewise in the small kind of communities growing up.
Yeah, that is a really good point. Just the fact that Reyna had this kind of established relationship with Berhalter in a way, or Berhalter at least had it with Reyna's family, and then for all of that to kind of bubble up in the way that it did, the way you put it, Mitchell. Yeah, it's just, oh, it sucks. It's such a fucking bad look for USF, man, or USSF.
So American. It's like as American as it gets, and it's so frustrating to have a situation like this spill over after what I think most of us would consider a successful World Cup run.
Yeah,
a really positive step in the right direction for a young group of guys, and now it's kind of like shit, I saw this happen all through like middle school and high school growing up. Now I'm seeing it at the US men's national team level. And it's like, how the fuck do we stop these situations from happening? Like, look at what we're doing to somebody's personal life. Like, it's your child. Are you black man? And now Eric Winalda is involved in it too, because he put his name on it
The worst human to get involved in
during
it.
like during the World Cup run. It's just like, what the fuck is going on? These adults are acting like toddlers. It's really frustrating, and I wish it wasn't putting that sour taste in our mouths after an all things considered pretty solid World Cup from the U.S.
I agree, but let's look at it from the other side of the coin. France has plenty of blackmail scandals, and they've won a
Yes.
World Cup. So now
Yes.
we get to play with the big boys. We're officially one of them,
Now we just need witch doctors.
Pretty much.
and we're sold. We're there.
It sort of epitomizes like soccer culture in America, like Mitch said, kind of with sports in general. But like soccer in the rest of the world, it's not really like this with like clubs and AAU and travel and all this stuff. And they're really like they seem like the epitome of soccer mom and dads in America. You know, whining, coaching the team, all this stuff, and it really does suck to see at this high of a level. Again, especially with people as renowned as the Reyna family. I mean, don't forget Claudio led us in 2 World Cups and captained the side. Like, he should know something better about just like being a part of a team like that. And like, I don't know, it just kind of makes you feel sick that someone that's that intertwined with U.S. soccer lore is willing to stoop that low for the benefit of his own son and nepotism.
Wasn't Berhalter in both of those
Yes.
World Cup sides?
Yeah.
with
So
Reyna?
And they
so
played together
Reyna,
at a youth level too.
yeah, Reyna and Berhalter were teammates growing up. Berhalter's wife and Reyna's wife were roommates and teammates through college. And like, it seems like such, like, if you remove the situation of where they are and look at it as like, hey, a group of 4 college friends got into this situation, their kids playing, and like one of them's like managing the other kid's son, like, it just screams stupidity.
Yep.
It screams like just bad blood and personal dirty laundry airing. That's all I can say about it.
And
Yeah,
Reyna's
it's
also
unfortunate to see.
Go ahead, Pat.
I was just saying it's unfortunate to see. Go ahead. Yeah.
Reyna is also the sporting director at Austin FC. So if this does get criminal or charges are pressed, because you know it could actually be a case of blackmail, he's probably going to lose his job in the MLS. You would have to think, but it does. I think I'm a little bit torn on Gio Reyna. Earlier, I was really mad. I guess you don't know what involved. We'll never know because an investigation will never overturn it. What his
Right.
involvement is with his parents, you know, spilling that info. If it was just his parents and it makes him look out to be an asshole, or if it was kind of like a whole family plot, we'll never know that. But Reyna does come out of this looking like an ultimate brat. Just his attitude throughout this whole tournament. I get it was frustrating, but you know we've obviously at Liverpool and Man City have saw players who don't necessarily get time. You can't put your head down and sulk. That's just not the way football works. So it is what it is. We'll probably move on. I wouldn't like to see him called up probably for the next couple windows just while this kind of dies down.
Yeah, get his head right, get his fitness up, work his way back into the team. You know, pull a Benzema.
Exactly. And also, let's not take away too from like the real victim of this is Berhalter's wife. Has nothing in this besides being his spouse and is having her own dirty laundry and past trauma experiences put in the public's sector. You know, the U.S. We'll recover as a U.S. men's fan base. The stuff she's had to deal with in the past 48 hours will be much harder. So, your thoughts and stuff go out to her.
Yeah, completely agree. All the main stand is with her.
Yeah. I do kind of want to ask one finishing question on this though. Where does this put Gregg?
I think personally for me it leaves him unchanged in my opinion. I think he did what he needed to do to get ahead of it. I commend him on his statement. Obviously, I don't know him personally. I don't know if those things in the past are true, any of it. I can't speak on that, but I can speak on his coaching decisions on the field. I can speak on the frustrations we've had with him as a manager. You know, it is what it is. Like, I think he was starting to understand some things later on in the run, but at this point we'll have to wait and see.
Yep. Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same boat as Mitchell with my thoughts. Yeah, I've been Greg out. I'm still Greg out. This doesn't really change that, but ultimately I don't really see this affecting too much. I mean, pending the investigation, obviously, if his statement was more of a half truth than it was anything, then obviously I'd like to see him go. I don't think he should be our coach anymore. But until it's all said and done, I don't really have any additional opinions on him.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat too. I think if anything, this does make it worse, I guess, in terms of coming back to a locker room. I'm not sure how you deal with all that. It's a lot of drama, especially after a World Cup. I don't know how you manage that locker room after this point, but
yeah,
we'll see. Let's move on to more positive pastures, guys. The Premier League is back. The full winter fixtures kind of thick and fast here. First, I do want to talk about kind of the transfer window so far. There's only really been one big signing, and it's Liverpool getting one done early with Cody Gakpo. So we'll talk about that and then dive into the table and catch up with both me and Mitch and Pat. So Cody Gakpo done to Liverpool. It's about 35 million US dollars, I think, can rise to about 50. Good deal. Not necessarily a priority signing though, right, Mitch?
not necessarily a priority signing, but I think it's a good deal to get in where he just had the World Cup he did. I think his club form has been great, and it's a good versatile signing. We can throw in kind of a midfield role or a forward role, um, and give us kind of a much needed boost through the injuries that we have in the second half of the season.
Yes, especially coming off the left. I think he offers a lot of versatility, probably as a false nine, as a 10 too. We'll be interested to see how Klopp really plays him. I think Pep Linders probably had a lot to do with this signing, just having been Dutch, knowing a lot about him. 23 years old, kind of going into the peak of his career, and we stuck him right from under the nose of Man United, which is always a pretty big boost.
It is funny.
It is funny.
Made official yesterday too.
Yeah.
Finally cleared everything. So
we'll see if he's on
looking forward to seeing
the bench this weekend against Wolves. There hasn't, again, like I said, there hasn't been any other big signings. Enzo Fernandez is the big one that's kind of throwing around right now. Chelsea trying to get something under the release clause around 85 mil. That has not gone through yet. Really not too much movement in this winter transfer window, and I'm not sure how much there's going to be after this. Man City, were they after a young kid, Pat, or did that go through? I forget.
We haven't. We sent a kid out on loan to Blackpool today, but
okay. I thought there was like a Peroni guy or Perone. I could be wrong.
Yeah, that's like a youth team signing though.
Got it.
He'll be like an EDS signing for a couple of years, like kind of like what Kaike was.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, I don't see us making any moves in the winter. I'd be really surprised if anybody came in.
I'd love another midfielder. There's Mateus Nunes from Wolves, who just got signed in August, is one being thrown around right now for about $6 million more than Wolves bought him for. I don't think Casado's going to happen this winter, and Jude Bellingham's definitely not happening this winter for either Liverpool or City. So, like I said, it seems like a lot of the big pieces are staying. This summer has potential, I think, to be probably a record-shattering transfer window. I think there's going to be a lot of guys move, especially with this World Cup just being now in the winter.
Yeah, because I don't see Enzo moving this winter either. I think Benfica have already said he's not going anywhere, and we'll talk about it in the summer.
Yeah, he's an expensive one. He's only had 6 months, kind of, at a top club.
Yeah, 135 million euro release clause.
Yeah, it's a lot. And just, again, small sample size with him, so we'll see. But out of the transfer window. We're gonna have more on that. Maybe we'll bring back money moves this year. We'll do some strategy talk. But we'll get right into the league table, and we're going to kick it over to Pat, because I know he wants to talk about the league leaders, Arsenal. They're atop the table by 8 points right now. Did drop points to Newcastle the other night, but have looked impressive after this World Cup break.
Yeah, I am officially conceding the title. I think they're going to win it.
Conceding 8 points back?
I think they're going to win it, dude. I don't know. It feels different. In the years that City were chasing Liverpool, we were right there. Yeah, we were 8 points back, but we were dropping the games we dropped points in. They felt maybe a little more winnable. The team that we were chasing didn't. The way that you guys played in some games gave me a little bit more hope that we could chase you. This Arsenal team is playing like 100-point team, and City are not playing like 100-point team right now. I think defensively we've been a little off this year. I think despite the fact that Haaland is on 21 Premier League goals this year, our offense is a little out of rhythm with him not providing as much on the ball as a Jesus or even Aguero did under Guardiola. And I think we have a genuine winger problem. All of our wingers are the same type of player. We're desperately missing someone of like Leroy Sané's profile for, just to cite a past winger.
You want Rafael Leao in the summer?
I want a winger with pace. I don't care who it is. I'll take fucking Dan James. At least he's fast.
That's fair.
No, I won't actually take Dan James. That's a little bit of hyperbole, but you get what I'm saying. Our wingers are all the same exact type of player. If I ever have to see Grealish and Mahrez wing pairing again, I'm gonna have a brain aneurysm. Yeah, City just feel a little wonky. The level that City have been at, since Guardiola came in, we're kind of due a little bit of an off year. We had that one his first season, and we haven't really sputtered since. So you can't be perfect every year, and this does just kind of feel like it's going to be a year where we're not going to win it. I could be very wrong. City are very good at, just winning games, but it just feels like Arsenal kind of are doing what it takes to win this year. They drew at Newcastle, but it very easily could have been 1 or 2-0 to Arsenal. But, that being said, it easily could have been 1 or 2-0 to Newcastle too, which is another team I think we should talk about before we kind of check in with our own teams too, because they're another one I think that's really surprising the league this year. Eddie Howe has got them playing some unbelievable ball. The investments that they made have been really good. They've bought a lot of smart players. Like, they made a lot of smart purchases. Trippier was great business. Bruno has been an unbelievable signing for them.
Nick Pope.
Yeah, Nick Pope, unbelievable too. The kid they bought from Arsenal, the striker.
Willock.
Wilson?
Well, Callum Wilson's been pretty good too.
Willock. It starts with a W. He's the forward. He's been a really bad look for the main stand here, but he's been really good too.
I think Joe Willock is the one who went to Newcastle from Arsenal.
Yeah, him. He's been really good. He's been a great player this year for them. And yeah, I think they have all the necessary pieces to build a really, really strong side. And if they get Champions League football and they get that cash injection from securing a top 4 spot, I think it's a really easy project to sell with how close they already are. And I think they've come out and impressed a lot of people. I know in our season predictions, we had them fighting for Europa League, and they're a point off of second place right now.
Yeah, with one loss, which was at the death against Liverpool, and they have the lowest goals conceded mark in the league at 11. Pretty impressive for, again, a team that's had a little bit of cash injection, but not what we thought initially. When this takeover happened, we thought they were going to spend bags, and they really haven't.
Yeah, I think this season is just figuring out what they need, and then they, it's going to be kind of like City 2010, 2011. They spent a little bit of money on a ton, and then in 2012, they bought a bunch of fucking players and won the league. So I'm not saying Newcastle are going to win the league next year, but I think next year is when you see the big investment, when they've addressed the problem areas in the 11 and on the bench and where they need to strategically make that investment. The Saudi Arabian company or Saudi Arabian ownership group that came in and bought them are spending money wisely. Yes, they're spending money, but they're spending it in areas that legitimately improve the side. It's not like these takeovers. It's not like Bowley, who just came into Chelsea and was like $200 million. Just put it into the team.
Did you see the rumor that if Newcastle get top 4, supposedly because Al Nassr is also owned by the Saudi investment fund, they're going to loan Ronaldo to Newcastle if they finish?
Yeah.
Eddie Howe did say that is not true.
I did see that as well, but it was a funny rumor while it lasted.
He said that Ronaldo just has a clause in his contract where he can move to any Champions League team if he wants to, and if they want him.
Great
but
way to spin it for clicks. I
don't know a team in the Champions League that would want Ronaldo right now. That's just
hell no.
Yeah, tough look. We didn't even Ronaldo didn't even make it into the transfer segment. So tough look for him.
He went to Al Nassr. He's making a bunch of money, and he's going to be used as a pawn for Saudi Arabia to host the World Cup in 2030 instead of him helping his own country. And Messi's going to do that too, and it's unfortunate, but it's true.
Fuck him and his wife's stupid Netflix show. Anyway, we got Man United, Tottenham, and Liverpool. They round out the top 6. They're kind of 3 just like mediocre teams at the moment. Man United, blah. I mean, they've won 3 on the bounce. Tottenham's been whatever. Conte seems pretty unhappy there. I mean, the comments he's made, and we have Liverpool, who's been, again, seemed like we were sort of maybe coming out of it. A nice win against Villa. Bajetic comes in, gets a goal. Beat Leicester in really weird circumstances, and then an absolute fucking stinker against Brentford.
It's been abysmal. It's been really rough. And at this point, I don't know what it is. The passing's loose. The positioning is terrible. And there's no way I can even see remotely how Darwin Nunez is worth the money right now.
Yeah, he fucking stinks.
I don't know. I don't know. I do.
I love the drive. I love that he is willing to continue to take chances and apply pressure. But fuck, does he have to find the back of the net soon?
That would have been a really good finish, I will say, against Brentford. The goal he scored that was disallowed, that was a fucking beautiful goal.
Would have.
He does need to find the back of the net soon. I will say that I think he was better against Brentford, actually. I don't think he was... I mean, he was way better than Salah was on the night. He's making a lot of chances. That explanation and kind of defense is going to start running out for him here in the near future. But he is a positive player, and you have to think the goals are going to fall sooner rather than later for him. I don't think he's our biggest issue, though, honestly. Ox on the left is tough. I think he, again, was one of our better players against Brentford, which is crazy to say in 2023.
Yeah. And
then you have a midfield that's getting pulled by the likes of Harvey Elliott, and I don't want to pick at him either because he's 19. He shouldn't have to play in the midfield every week. But our midfield is just ran so thin, and the defense is miscombobulated. Allison's kind of keeping as many goals as out of the back of the net as he can. It just seems like everything's going against us right now, and like Mitch said, I have no idea how to fix it. That's up to Klopp.
A couple of players I wouldn't mind just not seeing again are Naby Keita.
Yeah, I mean, he's gonna go in the summer. You have to think.
And to be quite frank, Ox, it's tough that he's put in the position that he is in. But we've heard he's on the way out for a year and a half now, and he doesn't get the minutes that it takes to have the amount of success it takes to win us these games. He's just not getting enough minutes, and to be thrown in after major ACL injury this late in his career, like he's just getting his 100th Reds appearance, and it's frustrating that we have to rely on that. And I'm hoping having Gakpo come in will allow maybe him to play more centrally, and we'll see Darwin out on the left a little bit more moving forward once he's integrated into the team. But we're just injury prone again this year.
And say what
Thiago's
you
made
want
of
about
glass,
injuries too, but I mean, you can't say there
one
wasn't
knock
enough
away.
talent on the field to beat Brentford. I mean,
No, there was
a
plenty.
Rolls Royce defense, and it's just
Yeah.
absolute sack of shit.
Virgil is definitely tired, and I don't think he's been the same player since his injury.
And he's going to be out for a while, it looks like, with a hammy. So.
Yep. Went out at half against Brentford, and now we're down to Nat Phillips, Joe Gomez, and Joel Matip, and Ibu Konate, who hasn't really proven himself yet.
Well, I think he had a bad game against Brentford. It's his first game back. I think he'll come around, but we'll see. I don't know, Pat. Do you have any thoughts on where Liverpool are?
No, I guess more of a question for you guys. Do you think this is something that can be fixed in one summer window, or are you guys going to be in a bit of a rebuild for the next couple of years, kind of getting your squad back to where it needs to be? And also, I know, Josh, you mentioned that it's something that Klopp is going to have to figure out. Do you think he can with the personnel that he has, or is this a case where you really need a refresh for something to really start going right?
It's a good question. I think I had a lot of the same concerns a couple years ago, the COVID year when Allison's header kind of got us top four. That was a lot worse. I think we lost like 5 home games in a row. That the lows of that season were lower than they are right now. I'll say that. So we'll kind of see how the rest of the season goes. I don't think it's going to be completely fixed in just one window, because I think ultimately you need a few midfielders with Ox and Keita leaving. And just in terms of like a depth chart, if there were a few midfielders to get injured, you'd be really, really, really thin. So you probably need 3 guys. If one of them is Jude Bellingham, you're talking about a $200 million window, which I just don't see John Henry doing, especially, I know they're separate businesses, but after shelling out $330 million tonight to Rafael Devers for the Red Sox, it's hard to see him just like splashing more cash on Liverpool. So I don't know. Again, it's like impossible to predict these things. But I still trust Jurgen. My trust in Jurgen never dwindles. It's more so of the ownership. I've always thought Jurgen's made a lot of what FSG have given him, and I'm just hoping that can continue with more investment in the summer.
I would agree with that. It's just it's a trying time. I think it really depends on if they do sell the club and how fast that transition happens. I think it depends a lot on, can we stay healthy moving forward? And how fast are these young players going to develop? If we're having 10 appearances out of Ben Doak and Bacedic this year, out of a injury riddled season, like, you're throwing teenagers into the Liverpool midfield mix so fast. To me, that feels, I guess I'm kind of tracking back to my statements when Mane left, like we're leaning toward a rebuild. We're still trying to figure out this new shape. We're still trying to figure out this new formation. And we're doing it with like 4 midfielders and 3 forwards right now. And it's really leaning to me toward a rebuild. And if that's the case, we're going to have a $200 million window to turn it around.
I guess so. It's tough though. Like you say as much as you want about like a new formation and stuff. We've played a 4-3-3 ever since we got back from the World Cup, and Harvey Elliott's the box to box guy. I mean, I love Harvey, but he's 19 years old. Why is he playing that role every single game? And you could to tell our social media manager to clip this. All the fucking teenagers on Twitter who fucking raved about Genie Wijnaldum and were happy when he left the club, you can all fucking literally, I don't know. I miss Genie Wijnaldum. I would kill for Genie Wijnaldum.
Thank you for pausing there before you said statements to teenagers on the internet.
Redacted.
Thank you.
Social media manager, just clip that for us when you get a chance.
Okay,
Thanks.
That.
Before moving on to City, I do think there are a couple other places on the table, maybe just teams to gloss over. I think we spend a lot of time talking about our respective clubs, which is fair. It's probably the teams we watch the most. But there are a couple teams just to kind of shout out here. First, we'll shout out the Stinky. Wolverhampton are in 19th place with only 14 points, a negative 16 goal differential for a team that's usually hailed on their defensive stability. They look like relegation candidates this year. They look fucking terrible.
Throw Leicester in the stinky pot too.
Leicester in 13th. They've climbed up a little bit. A team that I knew from the jump was getting fucking relegated.
The bottom four is quite funny in general. West Ham, Everton, Wolves, and Southampton. But
I had Everton very high in my season prediction, and we all had West Ham very high in our season prediction. So
Wolves is funny. Wolves is tough though, because like when you lose Connor Cody, I didn't expect that at the beginning of the season, and they also lost Morgan Gibbs-White, who seemed like their only decent attacker now. Nori is like playing striker. I mean, I watched the last 20 minutes against Villa tonight, and they were really lucky to leave Birmingham with a point.
Villa is another team we should quickly touch on. It's 6 undefeated under Emery now.
Yeah. Unai Ball is fucking here.
He looks like he's turning the ship around there for sure. He's got them almost in a top 10 position. They're 3 points behind Chelsea, who are in 10.
Chelsea's tough, yeah.
We can talk about them in a second. The promoted teams playing really, really well. Fulham specifically. Fulham in 7th place after the World Cup break, heading into this congestion winter fixture. A team that's surprising everyone. They are a very, very good side.
They're not.
I had them staying up, but I did not have them in the top 10. I've been unbelievably impressed with Fulham. Shout out Tim Ream, gets a new contract and scores his first Premier League goal. Love him. And yeah, I've been really impressed with Leeds too. I think Jesse Marsch is going to keep them up. The American boys have been balling there. Tyler Adams came back from the World Cup, put on a great show in that 0-0 they played against Newcastle the other day.
He's so sick.
I love him.
I don't want to interrupt you, but Tyler Adams is so sick. He's amazing.
I love him. I think he's a super, super good player. Brentford, Brighton as well, rounding out, the other two teams in the top 10 with Chelsea. Brighton, under their new manager, they look like they don't miss Graham Potter at all. A little bit of a rocky start under him, but they had to play like City and someone else right off the bat. Yeah, they just lost 4-2 to Arsenal, but outside of the games against the big guys, they're playing really well against the little dudes, and they're putting up a pretty good fight against a majority of the big teams. They looked at Chelsea and said, "We don't need you, Graham," and they beat the shit out of them when they came back home. So I've been impressed with Brighton as well, too. I like to see the fact that Potter hurt them a lot less than we thought initially.
Yeah.
Leaving, it's good to see the new manager already kind of immediately implementing his philosophy and playing a pretty similar style to Potter. So it was relatively easy for the players to kind of adapt to that. So that's good to see. And yeah, I think that's about it. I just wanted to make sure that we touched on a chunk of the table before just covering our two teams here.
Lamps is going to get the sack this weekend. Cross my fingers.
Yeah, but it would have been nice if City just beat him last weekend and got him sacked. But we can talk about them now for a little bit.
Go for it.
Second place, a point above Newcastle with 2 games to play. So I don't see us dropping there. Play Chelsea tomorrow with day of recording Wednesday. So by the time this episode has come out, we will have played Chelsea. So I'm not going to make a prediction for that game. Just know I'm confident. But yeah, I mean, Haaland and De Bruyne is a cheat code. That's kind of been the only thing winning us games this entire year. Haaland is still probably going to win the Golden Boot and smash the goals record, but outside of that, I don't see us going. I just don't see us winning the title this year. I just think Arsenal are a little bit more complete. I think Arteta's got them playing really well. I mean, that being said, if City beat Arsenal twice, it's a very open title race, right? We actually go top if we beat them twice. We're ahead by a point. So I do think those two games are going to ultimately decide the title if the teams continue to play the way that they've been playing. Yeah, we haven't really had a consistent back four all year. I think that's been another kind of one of our pain points. Our fullbacks haven't either been fitter or been in form. Rico Lewis has started the last two Premier League games. Who I love Rico Lewis. I think in a couple of years he's going to be the guy to replace Walker. He's rapid. He's 19 years old and he's already playing in that really confusing inverted fullback role that Pep has Cancelo playing. He looks like he belongs in the side. So that's going to be another academy kid that you see in and around City's first team in the next couple of years. And I think really will take that Foden path to becoming a bona fide starter in this side by the time he's like 21, 22. I think we're treating him the way that we treated Foden, and I think we're doing it right. We're not loaning him out. We're letting him play with the first team, and we're developing him. You know, there's no better place for him to be than in and around the City first team, even if he's not getting consistent minutes. But the fact that he's already started 2 Champions League games, a couple of games in the league, and he's shown that he, you know, fits in perfectly with this team, doesn't miss a beat, plays pretty well. So it's encouraging to see those signs from a player who's so young. I want Riyad Mahrez gone, unfortunately. I love Riyad, but he's just not the same player that he was in the past couple of years. Carried us in some Champions League runs, and I really do think he's been a great player for us. But I just desperately think City need a winger with some pace to, you know, get back to the way they were. We need a winger that offers something different. We don't really have that right now, and the width suffers from that. You know, those 100-point City teams. Those 100-point City teams that we saw, and that 98-point City team in the first time we went back to back. It was Sané and Sterling making the pitch as wide as humanly possible for De Bruyne and Aguero and players like that to run into. I think we kind of lose some of that, partially because Haaland doesn't really get involved in the buildup. The dude's a walking brace. He scores a horrid amount of goals. I wouldn't change him for a player in the world. I think he's the best number 9 in world football right now. But I just think the minute he gets a little more involved in the buildup, where he can add that to his game, whether it's just like a flicked on header or gets like marginally more comfortable with the ball at his feet, I think he, you know, completes the side, and I think he will get that in his game. He's young enough where he can very easily add one more dynamic to his game, which is just being a little better with the ball. But yeah, I mean, overall, I'm pretty happy with the way City have been playing, and maybe they'll prove me wrong and win the title. It's all going to come down to those 2 games against Arsenal.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. You'll have to root for us, I believe, at Anfield? Yeah. I think I'm
rooting for everyone that plays Arsenal that isn't Man United.
I believe it's an FA Cup weekend, boys, correct?
Yep. Last Premier League game is tomorrow, City-Chelsea, and then FA Cup weekend.
FA Cup weekend. Stay in tune with the podcast. I think we're going to probably be back around the zoo maybe a couple times here in the winter.
Absolutely. We'll do a snowball game. I'll put the bibs on, go hang out at the zoo.
Yeah. Definitely in the spring when it gets into crunch time, I'm going to be right there talking shit to Bird when City play Arsenal.
Yeah. Pat said, "Fuck that! I'm not going when there's snow on the ground."
Hey, I'll be there. I'll be there in February when City play Arsenal, and I fucking hope Birds are working.
Yeah. I think that's the podcast, though, boys.
Yeah, that's episode
Season
20.
2, episode 20.
That's
a wrap.
Thanks for tuning in. Like, share, favorite, comment, subscribe, tell a friend to listen. Yeah.
Deuces.
Peace.
Peace.